Imagine discovering that your entire 15-year relationship, your marriage, and the birth of your 5 children were all built on one massive calculated lie. That while you were learning to love someone's soul, accepting their flaws, creating the most beautiful moments of your life, they were trash-talking you to their secret lover and planning your destruction. When my ex-wife's court-ordered therapy records were finally revealed, the truth was so devastating, it rewrote everything I thought I knew about my own life. This is the story of how justice doesn't always come quickly, but when it does, it's absolutely devastating. If you've ever wondered how deep deception can go, or if you believe that the truth always finds a way to surface, you need to subscribe right now. Hit that like button if you're ready for a story where 15 years of lies crumble in the most spectacular way possible. And stick around, because this tale of betrayal, manipulation, and ultimate justice will leave you questioning everything you think you know about the people closest to you. Let's dive into this nightmare. It all started in 2007. In a high school history class, she hit me in the face with a hand lotion tube while trying to pass it across the room. I was 16, and I hated her immediately. Not because it hurt, but because she never apologized, never even acknowledged that she'd smacked me in the face in front of the entire class. That should have been my first warning sign, but I was too young to recognize the kind of person who could hurt someone and feel absolutely no remorse. Her name was Maria, and at 35, she would become the architect of the most elaborate deception I've ever encountered. But back then, she was just the rude girl who'd hit me with a lotion tube and couldn't be bothered to say sorry. 2 years later, fate put us in the same English as a second language class in college. Only 3 students, which meant there was nowhere to hide from each other. To my surprise, she invited me to sit next to her, asked for help with homework, and suddenly the girl who'd been so dismissive in high school was acting like we were old friends. I should have been suspicious, but I was 21 and inexperienced with women. When she started showing interest, part of me was flattered. Here was this girl, who'd barely noticed me in high school, now wanting to spend time with me, asking for my help, making me feel needed. But there was a complication. She was dating a car mechanic, and the situation was messy. She suspected he was sleeping with her mother. Yes, you heard that right, her own mother. I told her that if she wanted to date me, she needed to end that relationship completely. I wasn't going to be anyone's backup plan or side piece. She did end it, or so she claimed, and we started dating in 2010. I was saving myself for someone special, and I thought she was that person. The physical relationship was intense. We were together up to 3 times a day, young and passionate and completely absorbed in each other. Then, weeks into our relationship, the first bombshell dropped. She started complaining about symptoms, and when we got tested, I discovered she'd given me chlamydia. I was inexperienced and asymptomatic, so I hadn't known. She claimed she was surprised too, but looking back, the signs were all there. This wasn't something she'd just picked up. This was evidence of a pattern I was too naive to recognize. But I forgave her. I was young, inexperienced, and thought this was just part of being in a relationship. I had no idea I was being played by someone who'd been perfecting the art of deception since high school. In 2011, I landed a career as an IT specialist at a local clinic. I was good at my job, made friends with the VP and HR manager, and when Maria needed work, I used my connections to get her hired. She started as a receptionist, and thanks to my relationships at the clinic, she quickly moved up to assistant clinic manager. I was proud of helping her succeed. I bought her a phone on my plan, helped her advance her career, supported her dreams. I thought we were building something together. Then I found the text messages. I was repairing her cracked phone screen when notifications started popping up. Messages from another guy, flirtatious, intimate, clearly indicating an ongoing relationship. When I confronted her, her excuse was masterful in its audacity. "I thought it was you," she said, tears in her eyes. "I thought you were testing my loyalty by pretending to be someone else with a different number." The lie was so elaborate, so psychologically manipulative, that part of me almost believed it. Who would think of such a complex deception on the spot? But my gut told me she was lying, and I started pulling away. That's when she played her next card. She asked for a 1-month break, and I immediately agreed. I was ready to walk away, to end this relationship that was already showing signs of toxicity. But a week later, she showed up at my door, sobbing, begging me to take her back, and here's where I made the mistake that would cost me the next 15 years of my life. I said yes. I thought her tears were genuine. I thought the desperation in her voice meant she'd realized what she was losing. I had no idea I was witnessing a calculated performance designed to keep me exactly where she wanted me, available, supportive, and completely unaware of what was really happening. The next few years seemed perfect. In 2013, she told me she was pregnant, and something inside me shifted completely. I was going to be a father, and that triggered every protective, responsible instinct I had. I traded in my brand new R1 motorcycle for a Maxima so we could go to doctor appointments comfortably. I bought a house 3 months before our daughter was born in May 2014, furnished it exactly how she wanted it. She asked to be a stay-at-home mom, and I gladly supported that decision. Life felt amazing. I had my newborn princess and my Florecita, my little flower, as I called her. We got married in 2015 because I wanted to do things right, even if not in the traditional order. When she told her mother about the pregnancy, her mother's response was chilling. "You just ruined his life." At the time, I thought her mother was just being dramatic, maybe jealous of our happiness. I had no idea she was speaking from experience, knowing exactly what kind of person her daughter really was. But I was in heaven. My consulting business was thriving, we were planning for more children, and when she got pregnant again in late 2015, I felt like the luckiest man alive. Then we found out it was twins, and my joy doubled. But when she went to share this news at my office, she was uncontrollably crying. My co-workers thought she was just nervous, overwhelmed by the prospect of 3 children under 3. They told me to comfort her, to be extra supportive. I thought I was being the perfect husband, giving her all the emotional support she needed. The twins were born in 2016 with health complications, and we faced that challenge together. Going through that experience, seeing her strength as a mother, made me love her even deeper. I became a Christian during this time, felt more connected to her than ever. Every morning on my way to work, I'd feel the sunshine on my face, and thank God for the life he'd given me, for my partner, for my healthy children, for the family we'd built together. I thought I was living a fairy tale. In reality, I was the starring role in someone else's elaborate con game. By 2018, she started becoming irritable, moody, unpredictable. Instead of questioning this change, I decided to invest even more in our relationship. I hired a cleaning lady to help her. I'd drive home during lunch to make her breakfast, do laundry, play with the children. On weekends, I did all the cleaning myself. I suggested therapy in late 2019, thinking she might be dealing with postpartum issues, childhood trauma, or just the stress of raising 3 young children. This decision, made out of love and concern, would eventually become the key that unlocked the truth about who she really was. Then 2020 hit, and the pandemic changed everything. She started experiencing more problems, became more distant. We went 9 months without intimacy, and I gave her space, thinking she was struggling with the lockdown like so many people were. I was considered a first responder, so I kept working while she stayed home with the children. My side business grew during this time, providing additional income for our family. I thought we were weathering the storm together. After 9 months of no physical connection, I was desperate for her touch, her warmth, the intimacy we'd once shared. The night the Mandalorian season finale aired, she finally came to me, cuddled with me on the couch, and one thing led to another. It was the only time we were intimate during that entire period. Ironically, She got pregnant from that single encounter, another set of twins, and this time I finally got my son along with another daughter. I was ecstatic. 5 children, a growing business, what I thought was a strong marriage. Life seemed perfect, but after the delivery, something changed dramatically. She started taking medication prescribed by a psychiatrist, and while she seemed better physically, her personality became different. Mood swings became more pronounced. She started yelling at all the children, even the newborns. Then came April 2022, and the moment that should have ended everything. I came home to find her crying on our bed. When I asked what was wrong, she confessed something that made my blood run cold. She'd been having thoughts, she said, about ending our children's lives with a butcher knife, then bathing in their blood before killing herself. My first instinct was protection, both for my children and for her. I told her we needed help immediately. I contacted our pastor, arranged for church members to visit regularly, to help with the house and pray with her. I thought this was a mental health crisis that we could overcome together, like we'd overcome the twins' health issues. But looking back, I wonder if this confession was another manipulation. Was she testing me, seeing how far she could push before I'd break? Or was she genuinely struggling with violent thoughts brought on by the stress of maintaining her double life? Either way, she started changing again. More exercise, dressing up, fake nails, going out with friends. At the time, I thought these were positive signs. She was taking care of herself, finding joy again, healing from whatever darkness had been consuming her. I had no idea she was preparing for her exit strategy. May 19th, 2023, at 9 p.m, she told me she was going to her sister-in-law's house to get her nails done. It was an odd time for a nail appointment, and she never drove at night, but I gave her the keys to the sports car without question. I was still trying to be the supportive husband, even as red flags were practically slapping me in the face. 30 minutes later, I called to check on her, straight to voicemail. I called 3 more times. Same thing. Panic started setting in. I thought maybe she'd had an accident, so I checked the car's GPS. The car was parked at Civic Center Park at night, with over $20,000 worth of network tools in the trunk. When I texted asking why the car was at the park, she started typing back, so I called her immediately. She answered, and I could hear the unmistakable sound of a muscle car engine in the background. A Mustang or Charger, something with a loud, aggressive exhaust. She claimed she was on her way to her sister-in-law's house but was hanging out with her friend Jessica. The next day, she said she'd just been smoking weed while driving around the city. Every alarm bell in my head was screaming, but I still wanted to believe her. I told her plainly, if she was cheating, I'd let her go without a fight. I just didn't want another STD in my life. 2 weeks later, on June 2nd, 2023, she approached me out of nowhere to say she was applying for a job and wanted either a divorce or a break. For the first time in my adult life, I broke down crying. I couldn't process what was happening. All the red flags hit me like a freight train, and suddenly everything made sense, but I couldn't accept it. After 2 or 3 hours of me sobbing in our bedroom, I told her I could give her 1 month break, but no more. I lasted exactly 1 day away from home. I couldn't bear not giving my children their good morning kisses, not being welcomed home by them, not tucking them into bed every night, so I moved back in, but I started overcompensating desperately. I got her a week-long cruise to try to rekindle our marriage, shopping sprees for clothes, makeup, shoes, concert tickets in San Diego for her, her sister, and sister-in-law, with a nice hotel stay included. I was literally trying to buy her love, exhausting myself financially and emotionally to win back a woman who had never been mine to begin with. On June 9th, 2023, the night before her San Diego concert, I asked if she had all her cards loaded in Apple Pay in case she needed them. She handed me her phone to update everything, and that's when my world exploded. She didn't have Messenger installed, but hours earlier she'd sent me a grocery list through Messenger. Something didn't add up, so I installed the app. What I found destroyed me. She was talking to about 5 different guys, sitting right next to me, acting like the loving wife, while carrying on multiple conversations with other men. I started screenshotting everything I could find. Messages where she talked trash about me, described how she desired these other guys, complained about our marriage, but the absolute worst discovery, the one that turned my heartbreak into pure rage, was finding out she'd been sending pictures of our children to a man in Pakistan. Our 4 daughters, ages 9, 7, 7, and 1.5, and our 1.5-year-old son. Pictures with GPS coordinates of our house. She was exposing our children to a potential predator on the other side of the world. When she saw me taking pictures of her phone, she snatched it away and ran to our bedroom, locking herself inside. She deleted everything, but I had captured enough evidence to know that my entire life had been a lie. Everything changed in that moment. I was no longer seeking her approval, no longer trying to win her back. I was angry, heartbroken, but also clear-headed in a way I hadn't been in years. I still held on to a sliver of hope that maybe she'd been manipulated, that this was all a terrible mistake she could come back from. That hope died 10 days later, on Father's Day. After dinner on June 19, 2023, she sat me down and delivered the final blow. There was another man, she said. He'd always been there since we started dating back in 2010. She'd never been happy with me. She'd maintained communication with him, especially after every pregnancy, meaning every time I thought we were growing closer as a family, she was actually reaching out to her secret lover. Now he'd finished college, and she was ready to leave me for him. I remember feeling actual physical pain in my chest, like something was breaking inside me. From one second to the next, every good feeling I'd ever had for her just died. She stopped being my Florecita. She stopped being the mother of my children in my heart. She became just another woman who deserved nothing more from me. That night, I moved into my son's bedroom. No more asking for her attention, no more waiting for her affection, and definitely no more intimacy. A cold resolve filled my chest, and I made myself 2 promises. I would protect my children at all costs, and I would not make any mistakes that could be used against me later. She filed for divorce on August 1st, and I was served on August 3rd. Once the papers were filed, she became completely brazen about her double life. She'd leave Friday afternoons and return Sunday afternoons. She demanded money for gas, for nail appointments, for belly dance classes for the cleaning lady. I told her to get a job. I became methodical, calculating, cautious. I documented everything but refused to leave the house, even though she demanded I move out almost daily. I knew that whoever controlled the house had the advantage, and I wasn't giving her anything else. The divorce process dragged on for 10 months. Through 4 hearings where we both represented ourselves, she fought for everything: the house, the sports car, the minivan, while trying to limit me to every other weekend visits with my own children. In May 2024, I finally got my divorce decree. 50-50 custody, 1 week with her and 1 week with me. I had to pay $130 in child support and $900 monthly alimony for 32 months. She got the minivan for the children and the sports car for weekends when she didn't have the kids. I sold both my cars and bought a Tahoe to transport my children properly. I also got court-ordered DNA testing for all 5 children, given that she'd maintained contact with her lover throughout our entire relationship. Thank God, they were all mine. The arrangement worked until August 4th, when she sent me a text message that changed everything. She would not be handing over the children anymore. She'd changed their schools without telling me and wouldn't share their location. For more than 2 months, I couldn't see my children. When I texted my older daughters, they'd tell me they missed me, but sometimes they'd say they were scared of me. Messages I knew were actually from their mother, impersonating them to poison me in their minds. Every week, I filed police reports for failure to follow court orders. I didn't react to her taunts, didn't give her the angry response she was clearly trying to provoke. On October 4th, I secured a family attorney. Not just any attorney, but the best and most ruthless in the entire county. By October 8th, the judge granted us an emergency custody order. That afternoon, after a 3-hour standoff with 4 police officers and a process server at her apartment, I finally saw my children again. At the first hearing for the emergency orders, she showed up with a friend for moral support, but no legal representation. I had a mountain of evidence showing her contempt of court and the best family attorney in the county. She got absolutely destroyed. My attorney requested her psychological, medical, and financial records to understand her motives for hiding the children. The judge granted everything, and that's when the real truth finally came out. Her therapy records revealed everything, every lie, every manipulation, every calculated move she'd made over the past 15 years. She'd found her lover having sex with her best friend in her apartment, which triggered a panic attack that led to her withholding the children. Her lover left her when he realized she hadn't kept the house, cars, or substantial alimony payments they'd been planning on, but not before spending all $70,000 of her share from selling our marital home. The records showed how she'd wanted to make me angry enough to react badly, hoping to get me arrested or hit with a restraining order. How her lover and his girlfriend had gotten her hooked on ayahuasca, toad poison, cocaine, weed and THC products. How she'd been manipulating our children to be afraid of me. But the most devastating revelation was this. She'd been thinking about ending our children's lives since 2019 because she saw them as obstacles to being with her affair partner. Those weren't random violent thoughts brought on by postpartum depression. They were calculated considerations about removing the inconveniences that stood between her and her secret lover. Reading those records, I didn't feel anger anymore. I felt profound sadness and pity for a woman who'd gambled everything. Her children, her family, her stability, for someone who dropped her the moment she became more liability than asset. The trial is still pending, but I'm confident I'll get full custody. My attorney has requested hair follicle drug tests, and the evidence against her is overwhelming. I've bought plots of land for each of my children and I'm closing on a new house soon, but the psychological damage runs deep. Learning that my entire marriage was a lie, that the most beautiful moments of my life were tainted by deception, that while I was learning to love someone's soul, they were planning my destruction. It's changed me fundamentally. She made me doubt my own children's paternity. Corrupted memories I'd cherished, turned 15 years of my life into an elaborate performance I was never meant to see behind the curtain of. The affair partner? He's long gone, probably moved on to his next victim. She's alone, broke, drug addicted, and facing the loss of her children. The friend who attended court with her likely introduced her to ayahuasca and other drugs, adding another layer of manipulation to her already fractured life. Justice came slowly, but it came completely. Sometimes the truth takes years to surface, but when it does, it's devastating in its thoroughness. Some people are capable of maintaining elaborate deceptions for decades, destroying lives while presenting themselves as victims. But truth has a way of surfacing, especially when legal systems demand transparency. The very therapy I'd suggested to help her heal became the instrument that exposed every lie she'd ever told. The deepest betrayals often come from those we trust most completely. If this story resonated with you, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Like this video if you believe truth always finds a way to surface. Comment below. Have you ever discovered that someone you loved was living a complete double life? Your stories matter. Until next time, remember that sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to carry someone else's lies.